afternoon sessions, the chairperson will be Professor Arvind Jamdekar, Chancellor of the Deccan College, deemed to be University, Pune. So the Indian system of medicine is a relic of great antiquity. It is the culmination of Indian ideas of medicine, which represent a way of healthy living. Hereby, we have a renowned Ayurveda practitioner, Dr. B.R. Ramakrishna, Vice Chancellor of S-VYASA University, who will be presenting a paper on Ayurvedic perception of public health. Over to you, sir.
I'll hear from down only, sir.
Left to right.
Good afternoon, respected chairman, co-chairman of this session, dignitaries, and the participants. Let me express cordial welcome for this afternoon session. Normally, post-lunch session is difficulty for both for the speaker and also for the participants. But still, we will not make it very rather professional. We will go in a very lighter way so that you will also enjoy and it will not be a burden on me to keep you awake. My topic is Ayurvedic perception of public health. Let me make you understand very briefly what is Ayurveda. Ayurveda is known to all of you, Ayu and Veda. It is the science of life. When you say science of life, it includes all the prevailing medical, paramedical areas, whether it is modern system or the traditional system, homeopathy, naturopathy, any pathy for that matter, it comes within the purview of Ayurveda. That is the science of life. And it has the history of the time immemorial. We do not know whether came into existence first or the medicine came into existence or the system of healing came into existence. Both are contemporaries. Unlike the present modern system of medicine, this system is not created by anybody. The moment you understand that it is created, it is bound to perish. Jatasya maranam dhruvam. Whereas it has been said in the Vedas, Brahma smritva ayusho vedam prajapati majagrahit. This knowledge was in existence. We do not know where, when, how, like Vedas. It was recollected by Brahman. Brahma did not create. If it was created by Brahman, by the abusement and the discouragement of the pre-independence era, this system would have gone into zero. But even today it is available. It is, though based on the encouragement and the discouragement, sometimes there will be ups and downs, but this system is prevailing. It was there, it is there, it will be there. And this has Ashta Angas, means 8 branches. We have in yoga, we have Ashtanga Yoga. Similarly in Ayurveda, Ashtanga Ayurveda, which talks about all aspects. Today we have specialities, branches, super specialities in modern medicine. General medicine, surgery, ENT, gynecology, obstetrics, toxicology. What are all the branches today that is available in the modern medical system? All can be included under the 8 Angas of Ayurveda. And what is the speciality of this Ayurveda and the aim and objective? It is very clear. Swasthasya swasthya rakshanam aturasya vikara prashamanam. The main objective of Ayurveda is maintaining health of the healthy, that is the prevention of diseases, and second one, total the diseases. This is the objective. And under this, preventive medicine, therapeutic measures, rehabilitative measures that are available in the present day, it is just included under the headings of Ayurveda. And the main objective of Ayurveda again is maintaining a state of good health, positive health, perfect health, total health, holistic health. And Ayurveda believes in the fundamental aims and objectives of our life. What is the aim and objectives? Dharma, artha, kama, moksha. These are our, whether knowingly or unknowingly, we are all thriving towards that. Dharma, artha, kama, we know it. It is our duty. And the artha refers to the rewards or the benefits that we get. And the kama is getting our desires fulfilled. But finally, moksha is free from the universal bondages. For all this, the most fundamental requisite is health. You may have anything for that matter. If you do not possess a state of health, it is like possessing anything for that matter is a waste or you cannot relish. Therefore, health is the basic foundation of all your pursuits of life. And that is regarding Ayurveda. Next. Sorry, it is here only. Now, let me talk about public health. What is public health? Public refers to Samaja, that is the community. And the health is a balanced state of physical, physiological, psychological, intellectual, spiritual dimensions. It is not merely an absence of disease. In that, the public health is most important. Personal health and the public health. Here, if you understand how this public health has started, it started in the beginning like a sanitary awakening. It was in the 18th century, in the name of industrialization, modernization, and the civilization. The things started changing in England. There, they started a separate type of problems which used to spread to the whole community. And cholera was considered as the king of these community medicine. It means there were, earlier to that, people were segregated, people's dwelling were in the villages or they were not in big clusters. Whereas in the name of urbanization, the people started assembling, joining together and living in the cities. That led to what is known as the sanitary problem. Then there was a lot of discussion and finally it came like an act. What is that act? In the milestones, it started with sanitary awareness. Slowly it changed into public health. Later, community medicine. Today, all of you have experienced during these prevailing pandemics, there are instructions being given by World Health Organization, ICMR, central government, state governments, local bodies. Everyone started giving instructions. Keep distance from others, wear mask, sanitization. So many public awareness are being given. These are, if there would have been no a system like public health, probably today we wouldn't have been able to face the prevailing problem, that is the pandemics. Public health started like sanitary awareness in the beginning, later public health and community medicine. Today we are all safe. Now, 1848 Public Health Act was promulgated in England. It is in order to bring this public health system within the rather framework of the rules and the regulations. It is now in its present form, it is a combination of scientific disciplines. Today, the public health is not restricted to only the sanitary safety or the practice. It essentially includes epidemiology, biostatistics, laboratory sciences, social sciences, demography, and skills and strategies. Example, epidemiological investigations, planning and management, interventions, surveillance, evaluation. Probably through social media, all of you have understood we are just, getting ourselves exposed to all these factors. Every day new protocol is being sent by government or ICMR for prevention and management of this COVID and the tests. For example, today we have a rapid antigen test the moment you develop symptoms of COVID, later to confirm RT-PCR, later whether really you require an immune boosting vaccination, antibody test, like that several are happening. All those are happening within the purview of this. So public health mainly oriented for prevention of communicable diseases. The diseases are broadly categorized into communicable and non-communicable. The non-communicable diseases today, Guruji was mentioning, blood pressure, hypertension, sleep disorders, anxiety, allergic disorders, autoimmune diseases. These are all non-communicable diseases. The root cause is adhi, getting converted into vyadhi. Whereas here, in the case of communicable diseases, it spreads from person to person, community to community, people to people. And that is the scope of this. And today the modern science has reached its zenith in handling these community-oriented or communicable diseases. See, COVID has started just 2.5 or 2 years back. Thanks to our Honorable Prime Minister and his team, how they have been able to, we were not in a position even to have sufficient number of gloves, masks, and within 1 year, India was able to develop a vaccine, not only one, several brands of vaccine. And in the third wave, the people would have just disappeared if there would have been no vaccination. And all these are possible because the modern science and the modern scientists, they have, with an integral way, they have worked whole day and night for months together, and that is the result today. The third wave of pandemics just disappeared without causing much damages. But what was the method that the ancient people, during ancient time, or Ayurvedic perception of preventing these communicable diseases and managing the health and safety of the public? This system is being widely used. See, though the modern science, we say it is the national system of medicine today prevailing in India, still in the rural areas or anywhere, more than 80% of the people do practice and go with the Ayurvedic approach. In Ayurveda, the main focus is given on hitayu, ahitayu, sukhayu, and asukhayu. Hita means a state of health that is good, beneficial for me and also for the society. And sukha is purely for the personal. Asukha is dukhayu. And this is understood and then defined based on our ahara, vihara, vichara, achara, and vyavahara. In Ayurveda, this has been accepted through a system, through a subject called as Swastha Vritta. Vritta is narration. Narration to maintain the health, swasthya, is called as swastha vritta. Swastha vritta is personal medicine. It consists of organized principles of life in terms of ahara, vihara, vichara, and vyavahara, through which public health is achieved. If you want to have a good state of health as an individual or as a member of the community, you should follow all the five. Ahara is our food and drinks, and there are several principles in that. Today we have separate departments or the subjects being taught at the level of undergraduate and the postgraduate level, diet and dietetics. And vihara refers to our practices from morning to evening. What are the things that one has to practice? It may be vyayama, exercise, it may be yoga, or it may be anything for that matter. And vihara, ahara, vihara. Next is vichara. Vichara plays the most important aspect. A good state of mind is definitely indeed required for a good state of health. Because the diseases are manifested first in the mind, understand. Human system is essentially an integrative manifestation of body, mind, and consciousness. In that, the mind plays the most important. It is said, adhiyate, abhinimeshyate, pratikaraya manaha iti vyadhihi. Unless the mind is not connected to a particular problem, there can be no disease. You want to say, I am happy or I am not happy, it is expression of the mind. It is not your body. You have a small pimple here. For somebody, a pimple or a small spot on the cheeks is a beauty point. For somebody, it is a major disease. They will go to specialists and super specialists and the cosmetic surgeons. Some people, yeah, it is looking both acha dikh raha hai, rehne do. So here, this is not creating problem. The problem is created here. Therefore, remember, mind is the culprit. Therefore, if you have positive thought, positive thinking, definitely there can be no disease. In this pandemic situation, we have seen few people developed symptoms of COVID. When they are tested, the report was negative. Few people with mild symptoms, when they are tested, it becomes positive and negative. It has been studied now, those who have very positive mind, they became negative. Those who have fickle-minded, the moment COVID means darpuk, they become positive. Therefore, mind plays the most important role. Ahara, vihara, vichara. Then achara. Achara is from morning to evening. We say early to bed and early to rise. Now everything is ulta. Is it not? Late to bed and late to rise is the present day practice. Similarly, anything for that matter. I am surprised. Many of our students also take bath at night. Okay. Normally, bathing should be in the morning. And I don't have to tell, many people start brushing teeth after everything. Everything has become totally irrelevant and totally reversed now. This is not the achara that is recommended. Brahme muhurte uttishtet swastho rakshartham aishaha. You are supposed to get up as early as 4 o'clock or 3:45 in the morning. And those who have experience, I am sure that you don't have that experience. And the elderly people sitting here, they have the experience. Their studies used to be early morning at 4 o'clock. But now, students study at the time devils are dancing. Okay, till midnight they study and they sleep when they have to study during the Saraswati hours. So this is not the achara or daily regimens one has to do. So therefore, Ayurveda mentions several for that matter. Ahara, vihara, vichara, achara. The last one is vyavahara. Vyavahara is so much important. Vyavahara is our daily occupation, our profession, duties, responsibilities. Today you have seen, work more, earn more. That is the mentality of people today. And ahara, nidra, brahmacharya. These are the three essential pillars of life. If you do not rest properly for the required time, definitely it leads to stress. That stress leads to endocrinal imbalance. That endocrinal imbalance leads to several health problems, including blood pressure, diabetes, and other several problems. Therefore, Traya Upasthambas, these are the three pillars daily vyavaharas. I am sorry to tell people who go to money because they are being given very comfort zone and they are giving more money, most of them they suffer. Most of them they suffer because no Americans or no Europeans are prepared to work after their working hours. They go and rest or enjoy. Whereas our people, इनको ज़्यादा पैसा मिले, therefore they work up to night 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock. Next day, Sundays also they go and work. It is said like this: a fellow works all the days 24/7 and makes something around $20 million. Good. And by the time he earns, he is also backed up with several of the problems: diabetes, psoriasis, sleeplessness, hypertension, arthritis, degenerative. All the money, whatever he has spent, earned, and finally he lands up with a problem. He cannot get back his health. Therefore, one has to follow proper ahara, vihara, vichara, achara, vyavahara. Otherwise, you will end up in trouble. And there are several aspects have been mentioned. What are the benefits of proper ahara, bhojana kala, what time you have to take food, how much gap you should leave between two meals, and when you have to take, everything for that matter. It is said, Ekarasabhyaso hi vyadhikaranam, sarvarasabhyaso hi arogyakaranam. There are 6 tastes, Amla, Lavana, Katu, Tikta, Kashaya. Madura is sweet, sour, Lavana is salt, Katu is pungent, Tikta is bitter, and Kashaya is astringent. You are supposed to take all these 6 rasas in a balanced way to nourish your body. Normally what happens? Though some sweets, we have rasgulla, rajbhog, this bhog, that bhog, and some people do not. They take more spices. These imbalances cause a lot of problems. Therefore, Ayurveda gives lot of and mandatory descriptions to follow. Similarly, there are dinacharya, daily regimens, rutucharya, seasonal regimens. That is very important. It is said in the Vedas, Rutu Sandhishu Vyadhirjayatam. There are 6 seasons. You know it. Chaitra Vaishakha Vasanta Ritu, Jeshta Ashada Grishma Ritu. Like that, there are 6 seasons. Diseases manifest during Rutu Sandhikala. Rutu Sandhikala is the period in between the prevailing and the impending season. During that time, one should be careful. Remember, this pandemics, what is happening, that becomes erupted during Rutu Sandhikala. It has been studied. During that time, you have to follow proper charya. Charya means there are regimens. What to eat, what not to eat, what to practice, what not to practice. Things you have to take during that season has been elaborately said and it is being practiced. Therefore, another 3 minutes. Ratri Charya is there. That is also very important. Night regimens, Sandhya Charya is there. Evening regimens. Okay. And Apatya, Ratri Jagarana. I was telling, keeping ourselves awakened whole night. That causes diseases. And Diva Swapna, daytime sleeping. Students studying in the night and sleeping in the daytime. Varaha, Sanskrit word. Bhukto Suptaha Pushyati. Pig. What does it eat? It eats something absolutely non-caloric food. Okay. But still it builds a lot of fat. How? What it does, it eats and sleeps during daytime. So today, among our students, especially with the girls, polycystic ovarian disease or PCOD. You examine 100 people, 100 girls, 85% is positive of polycystic ovarian disease, which causes menstrual disorders and lot of masculine characters and even for the progeny. Therefore, you should never sleep. If you sleep, you become like pig. Okay. Similarly, Atinidra is also contraindicated. So these are all very clearly described as mandatory points for public health. And we have, with respect to Vichara also, there are many issues. And coming to the last point of the pandemics today, how these the ancient or Ayurvedic reference is there to prevent. See, it is said that these pandemics spread because prasangat, gatra samsparshat, nishwasat, sahabhojanat, sahashaya, sahashayasanaschapi, vastra malyanulepanat, kushtam jwarascha shoshascha, netrabhisyandayevacha, aupasargika rogascha, sankramanti naran naram. This has been written 5000 BC. See here, these pandemics are aupasargika rogas. How they spread is prasangat, by becoming close. See, today we talk about keep distance, is it not? If you do not do that, it happens. Gatra samsparshat. Now everyone have changed to namaskar. Earlier we used to wish with handshaking, and in the Europe they hug. That causes this type of diseases. Nishwasat, out of our breath. That is the reason why we have to cover with mask. Sahabhojanat. There is some practice. People share the dining plates. Same plate. All these are not abundant. Sahabhojanat, vastra malya anulepanat. That means using the cloths of others. Okay. All these things are the root cause. And the most common diseases are kushta. Kushta refers to skin diseases. Jwara. This pandemics is only a type of jwara only. Shosha is tuberculosis. And conjunctivitis netrabhishyanda. These are called as aupasargika rogas, and they spread from one person to others. So in Ayurveda, the ultimate reason for pandemics and these community-based diseases is adharma. Adharma means it is not connected with religion. Adharma with respect to your lifestyle. Disrespect to your lifestyle. Adharma with respect to your regimens. Adharma with respect to your nature. Anything you do against, that becomes adharma. And that adharma can lead to several problems. And the most important aspect is yaga. See, yoga and yaga. These play a most pivotal role in preventing these communicable diseases or the community-based diseases. And by yaga, the fumes or the smoke that is emitted by sacrificing several of the herbs and other things into the fire, that cleanses the environment. It is said, mantra, aushadhi, mani, mangala, bali, upahara, homa, niyama, prayaschitta, upavasa, all these factors, they rather produce lot of immunity within ourselves. And let there be COVID-19 or COVID-20 or 21, no botheration. Keep your ahara, vihara, vichara, achara in a balanced way. Absolutely no worry. It does not mean that you should not take vaccination. You should follow. That is adharma again. Suppose you don't follow the directions of the government, whatever. The government issues several of the directions based on the observations and the scientific study. They say that everyone should take 2 doses, elderly people should take the 3rd booster dose, and if there is again the 4th one, you have to follow. If you do not follow, you become adharmi. So adharma is the root cause of diseases, and this present, what we talk about, the community health and the communicable diseases are not new. They have been there, They are now, they will be there. Thank you so much.
I request Dr. Yes. Ahara, Vihara, Vichara, Achara, Vyavahara. These are the key to good health. So thank you, sir, for highlighting the uniqueness of Ayurveda in preventing and managing public health. The moment you change your perception is the moment you rewrite the chemistry of your body. Yoga is not barely an asana practice, it is a lifestyle medicine. With that, now we have Dr. Manjunath Sharma, Pro Vice Chancellor and Director of Research at S-VYASA University, to present the article on how yoga benefits as a lifestyle medicine in elderly population. Over to you, sir.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's such a wonderful occasion to be talking about something which is very close to my heart. And whenever I say a topic related to aging as close to my heart, and many people have asked me, it's not necessarily close to your heart, it's close to everybody's heart. Because each one of us are going to get old some day or the other. So knowing about aging and the methods to make it successful and to bring in a meaning to life is what we look at. And today I'm going to share some thoughts on this, where I'll be talking about yoga as lifestyle medicine for community dwelling elderly individuals. Here. Okay. Well, there are many definitions for aging. If you simply want to understand what aging process is all about, I picked these four different words. Number one, aging is a predictable process. Is there any doubt about it? Is there anybody who can say that I truly don't know whether we can predict whether I am going to age or not? Okay, it's really difficult to move in that area because it is 100% a predictable process, and it is also an inevitable process. Whether you want or not, whether I want or not, I am going to become old. So aging is an integral part of our growth system. So hence it becomes an inevitable process. It's also a progressive process. So there is no, once you become 50 plus, there is no way you can come back at around 30 or 20. So this is progressive in nature, and you certainly need to enjoy the progress. And last but very important is variable. What differentiates one individual from another individual getting older is this concept called variability. Probably somebody lives for 100 years, while some others live for 80, while few for XYZ health reasons might die much earlier, around 50 or 40. So what differentiates individuals to actually have these issues? So main component is there are lots of mechanisms which actually interferes with this process and can make it as a wonderful, at the same time, a variable experience for individuals. We might always say that everything is nice and true, but how are we going to make it, bring it to a positive side of variability? Okay, otherwise we always look at, go to the next. Okay, good. So positive side of variability is what I am going to talk today when I talk about yoga-based lifestyle. Another definition of aging, if you want to understand, this is the only thing that comes to you without any effort. Okay, for everything else, you have to put some effort. Okay, but we put lot of effort to become old, right? So whether you do something or not, you are going to become old, because this is a natural consequence of various physiological processes going on in our body. This is just some amount of statistics for you, because we are going to look at the community dwelling elderly individuals. So if you look at the whole world as Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, so this is where we are. Okay. So if you actually look at these percentages, I'm sorry, I can't, it's not visible. Less than 10% of 60-year and older are seen in very few countries. The gray zone, what you see, is less than 10% of 60 and older individuals living in that country. But if you look at 10 to 30%, you can see a huge blue map here. So that gives an indication that 10 to 30% is quite big. Okay, in any country, if there are 30% of people who are older, that has a significance. Okay, and also there is a requirement of looking at certain things which are needed to take care of such individuals. And the last one, 30% or more, okay, dark blue zone. Then these zones are increasing. Okay, you can see in China, you can see parts of Europe and UK, and you can see once again Canada and a few other countries, and USA is also joining in that zone. It shows that whole world population is aging, and the significance of it can be seen here, that for us the special interest is of India. You can see here very clearly that we have already crossed 47 million who are all above 65 years of age. We are going to reach around 9%. Okay, our 9% of Indian population is going to become 65 and above by the year 2030. And if you look at China, they are always ahead in this. And interestingly, and most importantly, if you look at Japan, so in the world, highest number of elderly people living today are in Japan. So there are many other countries, European countries to others, who are all coming closer to these figures, but it gives a message saying that irrespective of any region, the process is going to remain same. You look at many other countries, wherever they are now, they are proportionately growing, proportionately increasing this population of elderly. And in India, if you look at the distribution of male and female, it is quite similar. Okay, but still, if the male population has little bigger chunk at the age group of around 10 to 30, 35 years, but elderly, as you move forward, you see more of women living longer compared to male living longer. And also, if you ask this basic question, why is this suddenly the number of elderly people increasing? The three reasons are given here. Number one is decreased fertility rates. Once upon a time, all of you know it very well, that my grandparents, they had at least around 10 to 12 children. Okay? And when it came to my parents, it's all around 4 or 5 children. And many of you sitting here, you might say that I belong to the previous generation. So in your generation, probably it's already hardly around 2. And now we have reached a stage of one child per family. So the fertility rates have gone down due to several reasons. It can be our own choices, or it can be our preferences of lifestyle. Second one is improved healthcare systems. Certainly, credit has to be given to the medical advancement, because of which the longevity has increased. We are all living longer, certainly with good medical support. And the life expectancy also has gone up. Earlier, if you ask somebody, people might have told that if I live 60 years, that's a gift. Okay, but that has changed. Now people say that, okay, 70, 75 years living is not a problem, because even if I get into a chronic disease like cancer or anything, there are so many ways of managing it. So there should not be any problem in managing myself. And all these contribute to increased life expectancy. This should not be an issue, but we might end up here. Young children, those who are, some of you sitting here, you might feel one fine day that your parents will be worried about you. Okay, so by the time your strength, energy is getting over, generally parents leave you to your freedom and they move away. But with increased life expectancy, with lots of health problems, etc., they living with you is going to become something like this, is what many families or many parents think about it. But actually speaking, the reverse is also possible, that if the lifestyle and everything is taken care, all of them can live healthy and happily. But the whole goal is to move towards healthy aging. Okay, so aging is inevitable, we said, but how can we convert it into a healthy process? So there are three ways we can bring in low risk and high functional capacity to an individual when he or she are at 65 and above. Number one is low probability of disease and disease-related disability. Of course, I have heard Ramakrishna sir many times. So even I was not there initially for his talk. I can relate and say that he has spoken all about that. Preventive medicine. Okay? How Ayurveda, how traditional systems of medicine can help you in reducing the probability of you getting into a disease. Number two, high capacity for cognitive and physical functioning. As age advances, these are the two major issues everyone faces. Number one, physical difficulties and disabilities. Number two is decline in your cognitive processes. And of course, the last one is active engagement with life, including interpersonal relationships. Unfortunately, we are moving in a very wrong direction. India had a great contribution to the world with respect to joint family system. Okay, so we are losing those very integral parts of our life, because of which we might have lots of issues. But if you can actually work on these concepts of developing interpersonal relationships, not only outside, but within your own family, it can result in wonderful healthy aging. Finally, the goal is to arrive at this point. Okay, you have multiple components contributing to your wellness, be it physical activity, mental health, nutrition, and lifestyle, social harmony, healthy relationships, and spiritual health. All of them put together takes care of that process of healthy aging. If you ask me, our interest is bringing yoga, bringing traditional and traditional medicine along with conventional medicine as a process of integrative medicine to take an individual towards healthy aging. So lots of surveys have been done. Are people who are above 60 or 65 years age using these interventions, be it yoga, Ayurveda, naturopathic medicine, or any other traditional medicine of their own countries, like traditional Chinese medicine, Aboriginal medicine, etc. So in this one survey, it was shown that highest number of people, around 64% of them were using yoga or meditation. Of course, in the West, they use this terminology like this. In India, we say yoga. Yoga includes meditation. But yoga or meditation was 64%, followed by chiropractic, which is very well known in the West, particularly US and European countries. And of course, herbal medicine, mostly used as supplements, and massage therapy, acupuncture, etc. The reasons why they use camp therapies are listed here. Mainly, once they cross a age, pain becomes one of the inherent component in their life. So pain management was one of the reasons why they used the camp therapies, complementary and alternate medicine, and improve quality of life along with improving their overall health. So this is another survey done in Australia. Quite similar facts you can see here, like meditation is on top, followed by chiropractic, herbal medicine, massage, etc. And the reasons also remain same. If you look at a similar use in India, This publication talks about highest, little above 60% of people used CAM therapies, out of which dietary supplements, herbal dietary supplements were the ones which they used, followed by use of vitamins and minerals. Then comes yoga. Yoga is also little above 50% of people they have used in India. Probably the surveys won't cover the decent amount of whole lot of the population. So in India, we feel that everybody practices yoga, okay? But in some form, forget about doing physical part of yoga, asanas, asanas, etc. People may be doing pranayama, people may be doing meditation, or even simple breathing and walking. So everything is included in such a study mentioned over here. And when we really want to look at why people use these, as I said, there are mainly related to health-related issues, out of which these 5 can be listed as the major health issues, documented, apart from several other chronic diseases which we talk in the elderly. Number 1 is gait and balance. Today, if you see elderly people falling and becoming immobile over a period of time, if it is not successful to handle, then the main contribution is their gait and balance. They're not able to use their stance well, they're not able to use their gait well, and they have difficulties in balancing themselves when they are walking, or even when they are standing, it results in falls. Sleep is yet another very important aspect which elderly people face. It is best definition of problems in sleep in the elderly is they spend most of the time awake rather than sleeping in the night. Okay, if they have an health issue or if they have sleep related issues, not necessarily everybody need to have the sleep issues, but the duration of sleep certainly reduces. Imagine if you love sleeping for 8 hours, 10 hours. Many of the yoga students here, if they are left to morning, there is no yoga class. If you are left to yourself, you would love to sleep at least around 10 hours. Okay. But what happens? The opposite happens in the elderly, that due to several reasons, the total duration of sleep reduces, and then they wake up early and they remain awake most of the time. Hence, they prefer sleeping in the afternoon. That also contributes to lack of sleep in the night once again. Third one is cognitive decline. Main issue is to do with memory. And fourth one is depression. Very serious issue, which is less diagnosed, which is less reported in the elderly population. And last one is arthritis. It's not limited to only these problems, but there are several other issues. But I'm going to just focus on some of these. We have a little more than 1,000 articles talking about the beneficial use of yoga-based lifestyle in all these health-related issues in the elderly, which I'm going to just give you a brief. As I said, gait and balance forms one of the main issues. So this contributes as a major reason for falls and immobility in the elderly. And what exactly contributes in addition to this is also your musculoskeletal system and nervous system, because you need to have better gait and balance. Your musculoskeletal as well as nervous system should function well. The proprioceptive information going to your brain should be very efficient in maintaining your balance. And also, you have to be very alert in actually responding to a situation. All these things contribute to this. And aging process also influences both of these above two. And we have lots of evidence to suggest yoga has beneficial effects in reversing these processes. And of course, we can say confidently that we can prevent falls in the elderly, which is a major issue. So as I said, many studies are there to look at how yoga can help in improving gait and balance. So what has been done through these several studies are they have selected mainly combination of balancing postures. So balancing postures need not be in the standing position itself. Balancing posture also can be in other ways when you are doing. Imagine a Sarvangasana. Okay, imagine you are also doing a balancing activity on your hands when you are doing a sitting series of postures. Many of them contribute to improving this ability. And also, along with that, when you combine bit of loosening exercises as well as strengthening exercises, it will help individuals. And to bring in better awareness, etc., many of these studies have added meditation as one of the important components. So what happens when you use yoga are mentioned over here. The ability to get up from a chair without support increases. Okay, the biggest problem is people try getting up from a chair. Imagine if there is a chair with hand support, then they can do it better. Without hand support, it's very difficult for the elderly to get up. So when we did a study in the elderly, it has helped them to get up. That ability, the musculoskeletal health improves, because of which they can get up. And initiate a quick walk with long steps. Otherwise, the biggest problem in the elderly is they have a very short stance and they move very slowly. Okay? Once they get confidence that they are not going to follow, then they can take longer steps. So that's what happens through yoga. And speed of walking increases as well as ability to balance. If you ask me, is there any one particular style of yoga which is used to improve gait and balance? The answer is no. There are several styles which are studied already. There is S-VYASA. We have actively involved in it. We have studied we have done good number of studies using integrated approach of yoga, which includes asana, pranayama, meditation, relaxation, as well as some amount of theory behind them. Second, few publications are there on Iyengar yoga. Iyengar yoga uses lots of props, which is very essential in the elderly. We have a tendency of saying that in yoga you should not use props. Okay, when there is an ability, individual can perform practices without the help of props, it's very good. In the elderly, never take any risk in giving them the postures which can actually put them in some risk. And mindfulness is a new trend coming up from the West, which also they started with meditation, mindfulness-based meditation, but now they have included asanas, relaxation, everything into it, like integrated approach. So mindfulness-based studies are also there. Ichr yoga of Sadhgurus. So there are a couple of studies on Ichr looking at how Ichr yoga can benefit individuals to improve their gait and balance. And also use relaxation responses. So putting together whichever style you use, if you have certain components, you can certainly improve the gait and balance is the message. Second area I said depression. So biggest issue with individuals as the age advances is socialization. So generally, they identify their own groups and they slowly start withdrawing from extreme socialization, and the groups start becoming smaller and smaller, and it end up in having 1 or 2 or 3 people hardly to interact. So this is one of the major reasons in the elderly. And practices generally given for the elderly are dynamic in nature. Once again, keep in mind, dynamic yoga doesn't mean that you do full-fledged dynamic Surya Namaskar and make them do jogging, make them run. No, that's not the dynamic what I'm talking about. Repetitive practices. Okay, so whereas 2-3 ways you can give the same practice to an individual. One is doing it very slowly. Okay, you move your arm very slowly with breathing. Okay, for doing one posture, you might have around 4 to 5 breaths. And while maintaining, you might have another 4 to 5 breaths. Whereas dynamic also means you don't take so much of time to do one practice, but you repeat the same practice. You do it in a shorter period and then come back, repeat it once again, come back, repeat it once again. So this is the way you can make them, first of all, catch the essence of it and then do and understand it better. Another area for depression is Kirtan Yoga. Of course, these are terminologies what I have picked from the West. Don't get confused with this. In India, everything is yoga. Bhakti Yoga is what we call here. It has been called as Kirtan Yoga elsewhere. So this is where a lot of bhajans to lots of other stuff which are very essential for emotional culturing are included. So there are studies talking about Kirtan related activities and improvement in depression scores, and lots of lectures on philosophy and practice of yoga. Finally, the yoga philosophy comes very handy. Yogic counseling comes very handy when you want to handle depression. And what in one of the study published from us, from S-VYASA, demonstrated that when we gave that integrated approach of yoga, it reduced depression scores, improved positive approach to life, also improved coping abilities in these individuals. Once again, styles of yoga used in depression in particular are listed here. Integrated approach of yoga, Sudarshan Kriya Yoga from Art of Living Foundation, Sri Sri Ravi Shankarji's initiative, and Sahaja Yoga. Sahaja Yoga also includes a deeper version of meditation and counseling. You have mindfulness, Kirtan Yoga. And the next important aspect I said was on sleep. As I said, elderly spend more time awake in the bed than sleeping. And main issues are related to both quality as well as quantity. Both are compromised. Your quality of life, sleep is also affected. It can be due to several reasons. It can be due to medical or health related reason. Somebody has urinary incontinence or any other issues. You have to get up multiple times in the night. To pain related conditions or associated respiratory illness where a cough, chronic cough, which is not going, which wakes them up in the night. You can list big number why these individuals would have problems. While when we gave yoga for 6 months to elderly population in an home for the aged here in Bengaluru, it demonstrated that the time taken to fall asleep has significantly reduced. Imagine if you are very tired, you go to bed, you will not know when you have gone to bed, when you have slept yourself and gone into sleep. But when elderly people go, it easily takes an average of around 30 minutes for them to get into sleep. Time taken to fall asleep is much longer in the elderly. When they practiced yoga, it has reduced significantly, and number of hours slept increased. And on average, it was around 5.5 hours, okay, where majority of the people are sleeping hardly for around 4.5 to 5 hours. So that has increased significantly, and feeling of being rested in the morning. Quality of sleep, how do you assess? When you get up in the morning, somebody asks you, you had a good sleep? You say that, you smile and say that, oh, I had a wonderful sleep. I had a sound sleep. Okay. But in the elderly, there's another problem. Okay. When husband and wife are there, when the husband has a lot of sound sleep, then the wife cannot sleep. Okay. So there are lots of issues. I'm talking about snoring. Okay. So feeling of being rested is very essential in the morning, which actually keeps you very active across the day. And number of awakenings in the night has reduced significantly. Many people wake up in the night, and once again to get into sleep, it takes time. So that 4 aspects which we'll look at as cardinal aspects of sleep in the elderly have shown significant improvement. And the last very important aspect before we move on to the cognitive aspect is the pain-related issues. Arthritis is one of it, but arthritis is a major problem in the elderly. So they most often have osteoarthritis, so where your bones become thin, okay? And that can also contribute to lots of issues related to when you fall, there are fractures and other issues. And pain associated with it actually makes your overall quality of life compromised. So when you look at three aspects of arthritis, number one is pain associated with the inflammation, and second thing is deformities. Of course, deformity won't trouble you much, but if the deformity is associated with your palms, you will have your day-to-day activities compromised. You cannot hold your coffee mug. You cannot actually fold certain things. You will have lots of issues because of deformities, and you will become dependent on somebody else to do certain things for you. Hence, it is very essential, number one, to prevent. Number two, of course, if we can reverse any of this, it is very essential. So there are a couple of studies looking at how yoga can help in the elderly with respect to arthritis. These two studies talking about improvement in muscle power in the palm. So many of the times, if the muscle power goes down, then you lose your confidence. And that actually contributes to further progression in arthritis. And yoga also helped in reducing pain. I'm going to talk how this process has happened in these individuals. And very important, as I mentioned, quality of life is compromised. And this one study published in 2011 demonstrated that quality of life can improve because of betterment in their arthritic condition. There are lots of yoga techniques designed for handling arthritis in the elderly. You can see to your left, focus is always on Sukshma Vyayama, okay? What we call it as joint loosening exercises. But you do it with breathing, do it very slowly, repeat them multiple times. It's going to take it granted, it's going to help you. Okay, many times we think that, okay, doing this, what is going to happen? Okay, when you become old, when you do it, if it helps you, then you will understand. Otherwise, as a doctor, as a yoga therapist, you should know that it is going to benefit. Second thing is, of course, most of the practices have to be on the chair for these people. That's why I said Iyengar's style of yoga should definitely be considered in some conditions where lots of props are used. Chair-based Surya Namaskar. I'm sure all of you are aware of it. There is a simple way of doing Surya Namaskar, sitting on a chair, most suitable for the elderly. And of course, guided relaxation along with right nostril breathing in particular for a little longer duration compared to other pranayama what you do. And of course, alternate nostril breathing is a preferred thing. And the last part is all about your memory. We spoke about all physical issues and psychological issues, but what actually connects us with the world is your cognitive processes, and out of which one very important thing is memory. I always say that if you ask, what is the best gift given to you by God? Of course, this birth in the human form, as many of the speakers have already narrated, the importance of our life and to progress and upgrade ourselves in the spiritual path. But keeping that away, very important gift is the ability to remember. Second one is the ability to forget. Equally important, as much you think ability to remember is important, equally important is ability to forget. This becomes more important in the elderly. Okay? You accumulate issues over a period of time that leads to depression and several other issues. So insert and delete button should be very much active with you. There are 4 cognitive issues in the elderly. Number 1 is aging related memory loss, which is natural process. There is no serious issue. You can reverse in between if there is simple aging related memory loss. Mild cognitive impairment, that's why a simple aging related problem gets converted into a health issue. And then you have dementia, serious health issue where memory processes, okay? You think that registering and retrieval of information is very important. Retrieval we give a lot of importance, but registering also gets affected. Hence, the retrieval becomes a problem. And last one, a major condition called Alzheimer's disease, which has multiple other issues along with loss of memory. This is, I'm not making fun of it. This is really true. There are occasions where elderly husband and wife come out of the door, they lock the door, both expecting that other one will lead them to the place where they are supposed to go because they have forgotten where to go. Okay, so both are standing and hoping that somebody else will make a initiation whereby I can go to the place where I am supposed to go now. It's a serious issue. Okay, and we always consider this as a simple mental agility related issue, but it can lead to a very complex problem like Alzheimer's. I don't want to go into the details of this, but it is said that it is an irreversible condition. What you see on top here, imagine if your healthy brain is like this and severe Alzheimer's brain looks like this, what will be the capacity of your brain to perform? Okay, and credit goes to this man from Germany who actually identified this problem in 1906. Dementia associated with Alzheimer's, hence I have put it together. What happens is loss of cognitive functioning, including thinking processes, which is connected with your Alzheimer's, and many other cognitive abilities like remembering, reasoning, behavioral abilities all get affected. And you are given lots of suggestions by doctors, your family members, your children, etc. Daddy, you remember this. If your daddy can remember this, there is no problem. So the ability to remember itself is the problem. What your son has told to remember that itself is a problem because you forget it. And that leads to range of issues. A study was done by Google Group to understand how important it is to keep your brain active in the elderly population. We all know that more active you are, more healthy your brain will be. But this one study, they looked at people who are internet naive, who are internet savvy, and of course in tasks which involves reading as well as web search. Imagine if I take one of you to my laboratory Anveshana and put those either FNIRS or EEG caps, I see something like this, the lower right side image. Most of your brain areas are active, okay, because you anticipate. There is one search and you anticipate 3 different things to search immediately after that. Whereas if you see, like internet naive people, the areas of the brain which are active remain very less. They correlated with the elderly and they are published in a geriatric medicine journal to show that cognitive decline is directly proportional to the cognitive activities you are engaged with. And of course, it's very important to understand the basic concept, what can be linked with the beneficial effects of yoga, which we call it as secret to a healthy brain. And it's not related to brain alone. In yoga, we look at 4 more layers. So when we are talking about memory, so smriti is the component which we are all looking at. Anubhuta Vishyasam Pramoshaha Smritihi is what you are looking at, what has been stored, how best you can retrieve it. And the chain of reactions, cascade, which actually impairs this whole process, has been explained in Bhagavad Gita very well, that we also call it as the stress chain, the stress reaction process. Okay, most of you are aware of this. Dhyayato Vishyan Pumsa Sangasteshu Upajayate, Sangat Sanjayate Kamaha, Kamat Krodho Bijayate, etc. So finally, what we are interested to look at is, like when you want to reverse it, okay, you don't need to go to the last place to reverse it. you can start tweaking at any one of these places. Dhyayato Vishayan Pumsa, repeated thinking, there itself you can actually unblock it. Sangasteshu Upajaya Sangat Sanjayate Kama. Before that happens, you can reverse it. So there are lots of cues given by yoga. So don't take these slokas as one long sloka and one meaning associated with it. To design your yoga therapy, split them, you will get lots of meaning in it. And of course, these are just some concluding scientific evidences for you. Why we say that we can actually reverse a serious condition like dementia or even Alzheimer's through yoga. Some of the studies done in elderly demonstrated very clearly that aging-related degeneration can probably be reversed. And some clues coming from cellular biomarkers, whereas some other coming from imaging, neuroimaging and neuroscience related biomarkers. Here what you see, both of them, one is cortisol, etc. These actually are shown to increase as age advances, whereas others like brain-derived neurotrophic factor and others like dopamine, etc., lower down. They go down as the age advances. And yoga has shown to reverse them. Even in individuals where these are already affected, if you give them yoga, both of them can be reversed. Are these studies suggesting? And I said Sahaja Yoga. This I am showing for a reason that aging-related neurodegeneration, can we reverse it? These are some of the studies which probably can give us those cues, because it showed that long-term Sahaja Yoga meditators demonstrated increased volume of gray matter, particularly in the areas related to hippocampus and those which are regulated, those which are connected with your emotional cortex. Similarly, you see in another these study, quite similar activation and expansion of this specific structure of the brain connected with emotions as well as attentional processes. And this is one very important neurotransmitter, GABA, which can play a very important role. Even, for example, forget about you having any health issue. If you want to do good meditation, you have lots of distractions, you want to do good meditation, if GABA levels go up, you can probably do your meditation well. So starting from there, to elderly, you have lots of applications. And we have also looked at various other measures, like what is called as evoked potentials. We use this to understand information processing in the brain. When you do meditation, which part of the brain is active, or how is this information processing happening? So there are consistent results demonstrating that when you do meditation or pranayama, the areas called as diencephalon and mesencephalon, thalamo-hypothalamic areas also connected with your emotional cortex, are all active during meditation. And this is what has been substantiated by imaging studies, what we have done both in India and abroad. And another important study worth noting is this conducted in America by S-VYASA, which demonstrated that it's not functions of the brain, you can also change the structure of the brain. Like the Sahaja Yoga study, what we are talking, the structure of the brain can increase. That means the degeneration probably can be reversed. This is a hypothesis which we need to look into other areas. This is what I said already about hippocampus, and this is what suggestive that we can probably bring in regeneration. Apart from neurological, neuroimaging related studies, another important area is cellular aging. Okay, can yoga bring a change at a cellular level? So these are the guys, three people who have been given Nobel Prize for their invention related to telomere as one of the main contributing factors for aging process. Okay, so telomere, what you see here, okay, is that small little tail or the cap-like structure, what you see at the end of your particular chromosome. And as age advances, you can see the number of divisions a cell goes through, that length of the telomere starts reducing. So this is a protective layer for your aging process. If this reduces significantly, you get into accelerated aging. So hence, protecting it is very important. And yoga has demonstrated that you can reverse, you can actually increase the telomere length, and also an enzyme which regulates this telomere activity called telomerase. Even that activity you can regulate through yoga, along with lots of stuff connected with your psychology. This is just for your reference. Somebody wants to look at, many other cellular studies have been done to demonstrate how yoga can benefit. Apart from this, along with yoga, many other traditional methods also have been used. One of it is Tai Chi, which is a traditional Chinese meditation technique, moving meditation technique, which are demonstrated as beneficial. So I want to conclude by saying that do we have enough evidence to say that people have lived longer? In India, you have several of these references, but we might have not documented them. But in the world literature, there are 3 individuals who have been identified to have lived little more than 130 years. Okay? So one who lived in Italy is the one who lived for the longest. And if you see in the center, what has probably made them as different compared to other people, and which are common across these 3 individuals who lived longest, are they were all connected with their family, they were non-smokers, they were on plant-based diet, and they were on constant moderate physical activity, and they had very good social engagement, and they had very good diet. Okay, so probably that's what we want to talk about, lifestyle. And that's what I started by saying, that whatever age it may be, you would like to see yourself like this. Okay, but it's not the physical appearance what is very important, but you can live much younger if you actually bring in yoga philosophy and practice to your life. And many times, as I said, what bothers an individual is the ability not to forget. So these are just, I'm going to flash these, those who are interested, some of the well-established yoga techniques. It can be simple loosening exercises or yoga practices. So always make them as supportive practices. Even if you are not using any props, you can ask them to hold their body parts like this, what you see, to exercise their either feet or other parts. Use chair joint exercises. You can convert many of the simple activities into postures when you use chairs, etc. And very important is to work on your back, because as age advances, you have very serious issue with your back. So right from now, worth working on the back. And simplest exercises like forward bending to twisting to other things can be given to elderly with a lot of support. They have huge fear complex. So, and also imagine the same practice can be given to different individuals. Even if an elderly is on a wheelchair, you can convert some of the practices, and asanas can be converted and given to these people. And you can also give, I'm talking about prone, supine, etc. So finally, bring all the concepts of yoga, not just the asanas, bring meditation, bring pranic energization, because each component has a role to play. Okay? And learn many things looking at nature. I have put this, don't take me in any other sense. I'm not propagating dog yoga or anything. I have put it, if you observe animals, you can learn a lot. A dog, after sitting for maybe 2 minutes or 3 minutes, when it gets up, it takes this pose. It stretches its body, stretches its back, and then it starts its activities. It gets into meditation many times. Okay? You think that it's sleeping. Okay? And more important, as relevant to elderly, is community living. Living together. This can give an amazing support system and you live very happily. So in summary, it brings all this, what you aspire for through yoga. And I always remember this quote from George Bernard Shaw. So he said that you don't stop laughing when you grow old. You grow old when you stop laughing. Okay? And similarly, Bhagavad Gita said, your worries are unnecessary. Your death is unavoidable. The soul is indestructible and immortal. This is the truth, and this is the secret of wise. Having said that, only thing what we can do is age gracefully. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for elaborating the benefits of yoga and reversing the age-related disorders and for healthy living. Yoga adds years to your life and life to your years. With that, now I request Professor Arvind Jamkedkar to share his comments on these presentations.
Dear friends, for a person like me who is aging, at the same time who is aware of public health, for me it was one lecture. The lecture was on Ahara Vihara, Vichara, Achara and Vyavahara. Our Professor Dr. Ramakrishna, he gave a sort of a historical background regarding public health, how it is to be maintained, how the awareness was there in European countries. And if you very carefully study the dictums which have been given in Ayurveda, you will find that the first thing is basically your personal health. And unless you assimilate yourself with the environment, do you know what is the best definition for archaeology? Earlier it was thought that with technology, we are going to triumph over nature. We are going to bend it. We are going to crush it to our ideas. Now the archaeologists say that tool making or technology is nothing else but adjusting with the environment. Very easily trying to adjust with the environment. So how to smoothly do that, and when that awareness is there, what should be done was the first part of the lecture. And the second part, of course, lot of technicalities and therefore very difficult to remember, not because of age, but because of the vast information which provided. We'll find that he was trying to tell us two things, and that is, the first is, that is why aging is there. It is unavoidable. As a government servant, I say, your seniority grows in spite of yourself. So seniority come merit. So you have to develop merit. There is no other way. In order to get over seniority, you have to develop merit. And therefore, especially for the senior persons, it is again two ways. All this lecture, some of my young friends, they might think that, well, this is addressed to persons like Dr. Jamkedkar and so many others sitting there. No, it is for you also, not only because you are going to become old, but you have to look after your old parents also. And therefore, it was a wonderful exercise, I would say. And I will try to study the latter part, which was full of technicalities, but then the essence was, as I told, as we were told, that, well, if you follow carefully some of the very simple yogic practices, there is nothing you can reverse, including the age and disabilities. I'm really thankful to both the speakers, learned speakers. I learned a lot. I learn all the time a lot, and because I'm aware of my shortcomings. Thank you.
So now we have arranged refreshments at the entrance. So all are requested to comfort yourself. The session will resume after 15 minutes of break. So I request everyone to assemble here by 4 o'clock.
Sir, Delhi.
ಡೆಲ್ಲಿದು ರಘು ಕಳಿಸಿದ್ದಾನೆ.
Correct. First, you say you say Bharatanatyam, but we do Bhajan and Bharatanatyam.
So we'll be starting the program soon. I request everyone to kindly assemble in the hall. All the delegates are requested to assemble in the hall.
Then students are sitting at the back to come to the front. Now, please.
All the delegates are requested to occupy the front seats. The students who are sitting at the back are requested to occupy the front seats. Sir, I'll call them once.
Okay. Yeah, please.
I request all the dignitaries to please occupy the dais. I kindly request all the dignitaries to please occupy the dais. And all the students are requested to please occupy the front seats. Students, those who are sitting at the back are requested to occupy the front seats. I will go with the announcement and then I will call
Okay,
the
please
change.
go. Correct. Please go.
So once again, welcome back everyone for the other half of the session. So we have an announcement here. 6 to 7, we'll be having cultural sessions followed by bhajans, which will be performed by our BNYS graduates, BNYS students. So I request all the delegates and dignitaries to please stay back and witness the program. With that, Yoga Nidra is an innovative approach to treat various disorders. Here, I request Dr. Chudamani Nandagopal, art historian, former academic head of Indira Gandhi National Center of Arts, presently Dean School of Humanities and Social Sciences, Jain University, Bangalore, who will be presenting an article on concept of Yoga Nidra in Indian art and architecture. Over to you, ma'am.
Where is this? Changing, where is that?
Namaskar. Om Gurubhyo Namaha. Good evening, young friends. Our senior in our field, Professor Jamkedkarji, and the most dynamic and scholarly registrar, Sridhar, Dr. Aruni, and Professor Nandagopal also must have enjoyed the talks since morning, because some of the talks were very closer to him because he is also a neuropsychologist, the area which is very close to him. Since morning, we are listening to all enlightened talks, starting from Guruji, Dr. Nagendra, and our keynote speaker, Dr. Jamkedkarji. And this afternoon, it was very interesting. Our Vice Chancellor speaking on Ayurveda and the various nuances and dimensions of keeping good health following Ayurvedic system. And the last presentation on aging, very interesting and very systematic approach. We could see and understand the real process of aging. So the whole day was very fruitful since morning and did not realize how the time just went off. And coming to this paper on Yoga Nidra. I'm not a yoga expert, but having great respect for this yoga system, because among all the philosophy, Indian philosophy, I always enlightened myself with the Sankhya system. When we think of Sankhya, it is also yoga connected. So Sankhya and yoga are the two faces of one coin. So in that sense, I have been connected with the Sankhya system from very early days, understanding the real truth of nature, truth in every sense, and how yoga gives us that kind of marga in achieving or going closer to truth. So this is what I have understood. And way back about 20 years ago, I used to be weekend visitor to this campus, along with Dr. N.R. Shetty, who was the Vice Chancellor of Bangalore University. We used to come here weekend, and none other than Guruji himself made us to do all the asanas and pranayamas. Nagendra Guruji used to conduct a small session for both of us. So I enjoyed that way, started learning, understanding yoga, and also did Sudarshana Kriya and so many other, yoga practices. And even today, if I don't do yoga for 3 days or 4 days, I feel very lethargic. Even my mind stops working. So I get into back to my yogic at least 45 minutes, then I'll be charged. So this is the real benefit of yoga. I have understood in my life what is the role of yoga for every person. It's not just understanding it as a philosophy or way back or age old. No, it is very much present, very much required for every generation. And the subject which I am going to talk now is on Yoga Nidra. See, anything I am one person, unless I am convinced, I will not write. Even anything to write, I go to field work there sincerely, document everything, come back with that kind of source and material, then I work on that. That is the habit I have cultivated as a researcher. So when I'm speaking on Yoga Nidra, has any Yoga Nidra has any effect? So since almost a year, I have been following this Yoga Nidra. And usually, after my work, usually I sleep around, working continuously from morning 10 to 12. In between 1 hour or half an hour, I may take break for various other things till 12 o'clock in the night. Around 12 o'clock, I keep the Yoga Nidra, 20 minutes Yoga Nidra, and then go to bed. And when I get up in the morning, it is 5 hours or 6 hours sleep, but I am so fresh. Even today, I did the same. So this is my practical experience of Yoga Nidra. So then I felt when Dr. Soumya, I'm so happy that she is the dean here and very proud of her. And when she mentioned about this conference, I said, how can I connect myself? She knew that, I was working or I was practicing Yoga Nidra. She suggested, ma'am, why don't you write on Yoga Nidra? Then I said, started, research on that. And that's the outcome today, what I'm going to present before you. Yoga Darshana originated from India, has acclaimed importance, extended to global application, and manifested in the lifestyle of 21st century, populace across the world. Among the various forms and technique of popular yoga system, in present parlance, relaxation through yoga is gaining importance. It is the premier concept in the context of health and wellness as this century is concerned. The technique of Yoga Nidra in practice is researched seriously from all quarters to explore the possibilities of a viable solution to the problem of hectic lifestyle. The primary concern of this paper is to review the concept of Yoga Nidra in traditional Indian literature in relevance to the imagery of reclining Mahavishnu, characteristics of sacred space where such imagery is conceived and how such imagery gained importance over a period of time through the aspirations of the seekers and their intentions towards the imagery of Yoga Nidra. Culture. Culture inspires to explore and explain the human action observed through changing times and motivates to interpret the values symbolizing the socio-cultural ideas and concepts and integrate with nation building. Values are more than individual formation. They are tied up with symbols, imagery, customary practices, active in the social through relevant belief system, etc. Contextually, the varied kinds of human needs, be it functional such as food, shelter, clothing as the basic needs, or practical ones such as cooking, sleeping, and reading or playing, even symbolic such as religious offerings, spiritual practices, and observations related to yoga consciousness, or aesthetic such as appreciation of beauty in nature and things, recreating the fine intuitive experiences into art forms like painting, music, dance, sculpture, architecture, and making icons. All these activities yield to different kinds and ranges of satisfaction to one who acts and experiences. Such activities over a period of time become established ways of identity which emerge in the form of traditions. An activity in such is in which the aesthetic function develops into a firm tradition has a way of expression which is known as art, and art is the mirror of culture. So the stages of human development, when we look at the stages of human development, it finds the path of refinement. How we see the refinement? Through the emancipation of culture. This fine cultural expression through art created from time to time and sustains human spirit in all ages, past, present, and future. Thus, Indian art, though the literature have focused around the concept of unconscious to conscious, through which the seeker aspires to attain bliss, in Indian understanding, it is Atmananda. Atmananda is the joy of soul. From time to time, Indian philosophy has tried to link concepts such as space in terms of existence, time in terms of experiencing bliss, and thought in terms of consciousness. Out of such philosophical thought emerged the science of Sankhya and Yoga. So just I concluded saying that out of such refined thought and philosophical thought, what emerged is the science of Sankhya and Yoga. And I said how important is the Sankhya philosophy, which we go closer to Prakriti. And in the morning, Professor has talked so much about Prakriti and Vikruti. So we go very closer when we enter into this Sankhya system. So Yoga Darshana, as all of us know that it has originated from India. If you were not, become aware about 25 years ago, America would have made yoga as their patent. So much of movement was going on to make it as American yoga. But the Indians, like, starting from our, Guruji, like Nagendraji and Art of Living, and so many, Ramdevji and, other, systems. And they all thought that, it is not American yoga. It is Indian. So we started becoming aware of our system, and it was really, great awakening, which was given then, and now we have awakened to say that it is our system. So it is originated in India, and the technique and the forms of yoga system in present parallels. And what is important is when we talk about yoga nidra, it is the relaxation. So we come to the point of relaxation, and yoga gives that kind of relaxation also, which is embedded in our culture, embedded in our regular system, which we fail to recognize. Many things are embedded even today. It's not, then, it is now. But we fail to understand that they are in our culture, they are living tradition, and we don't take note of it. We become very casual about it. That is what we know we have to be aware. Just get awareness. Yes, everything is with us, and we have to know about it. That's all. So several yoga masters like Aurobindo, Sri Aurobindo, and Mother, Aurobindo and Mother from Pondicherry, Swami Rama from Himalayan meditation system, and Sri Ravi Shankarji. They all have thought about, living, and many others have developed a system, a technique, a relaxation, attainment of internal peace. What is required is internal peace. You can't bring peace from somewhere. You have to develop that kind of internal peace, and that is only possible through yoga. That has been proved. See, when I was very young, I visited Pondicherry, and it made such an impact on me. I felt I should not come out from Pondicherry. I should be there forever in my life. And I was reading through all the works of Aurobindo and Mother. And I heard that, Mother had just passed away when I was in Pondicherry at that time. And the people were talking. Mother used to speak only 2 hours. Out of 24 hours, she used to sleep only 2 hours. And she used to be active all 22 hours. I was wondering how it is possible for a human being. I was just asking, others, seniors, what is the secret of Mother? So they said she was doing yoga. I didn't understand what was yoga nidra at that time. Is it really possible to sleep so much and be active for the whole day? That was my question. And today I'm experiencing it, but I think it is too late. I feel at the advanced age of mine, I'm realizing that. I think it is too late for me, but you youngsters, please charge yourself and use your 22 hours fruitfully, and 2 hours give it for sleep. So now, coming to the next point, relaxation through yoga. So where do we arrive? It is yoga nidra gaining higher importance, relaxation through yoga. And it is the premier concept in the context of health and wellness. We have been listening since morning, how yoga is part of health and wellness. And yoga nidra, probably all of you do yoga nidra after completing your yoga session. At least 5 to 10 minutes, you relax yourself and do yoga nidra. But doing yoga nidra in an advanced level, it gives you a power for the whole body, mind, and heart, for your emotions. See, all these 3 are important. Body, mind, not only stop at mind, heart also. Heart not as an organ, heart as a human being, an emotion. That is the emotion quotient. We have to give importance to that. We are not just, machines. So heart is the central point of all our actions, thinking, emotions, spending the day. In our vyavahara, give importance to your heart. So when you are using your heart for so many hours, how do you relax? So yoga nidra put us to that kind of relaxation. So technique of Yoga Nidra in practice is researched seriously. I think in our here also, the S-VYASA University must have done, empirical study on Yoga Nidra and scientific approaches on Yoga Nidra, I'm very sure. So to explore the possibilities of a viable solution for the hectic life. So Sri Ravi Shankar talks about Yoga Nidra as nature compels you to go into silence unconsciously. And that is sleep. When you go to unconscious state, nature compels you to go to that. So that becomes a sleep. This gives you energy. Sleep is required for energy. When you choose to be silent consciously, that is meditation. It gives you more energy and can help open doors to subtle dimensions. So this is what he meant. Yoga Nidra is to sleep consciously. So there are two things associated there, sleep and consciousness. So it is sleep consciously. Yoga Nidra instantly recharges. It immediately recharges. As I said, I have experienced, when I get up in the morning, though I have not slept for 7 hours or 6 hours, I am as fresh as I am working. See, for a person who is working continuously, that too research, you are always fresh. Your mind is so energetic, alert. But that doesn't mean that you don't need sleep. You need sleep. But this relaxation through Yoga Nidra, it is a different level of sleep. That is what Ravi Shankar ji has defined and theorized. So it brings an incredible quietness and clarity within Yoga Nidra. In Sanskrit means yogic sleep. Very simple. And you have to practice it. Whatever the yoga is very simple, only when you practice. So also all aspects of yoga is very simple, but only when you practice it. So in 2011, there was an international conference on Yoga Nidra. The whole theme of the conference was on Yoga Nidra, and Swami Veda Bharati sponsored an international conference on Yoga Nidra to review traditional descriptions and methods of practice. See, today Yoga Nidra has become such an important, in every country, they are trying to bring their own way of Yoga Nidra. But what is the traditional technique and traditional method? That has been the conference, theme of the conference. So the goal was to initiate a discussion between those representing the oral tradition of yoga. See, all system of Indian system, what we are following today, if at all we respect our culture, it is a living tradition. That is why it is living and sustaining today. If it was a written tradition, it would have been evaporated long back. So that is why all our, if we only think of urban or Nagarikarana, we are not doing justice to our country's culture. Folk is more important. Non-urban is very important. There lies the real consciousness of our culture. So it is a living tradition always. So philosopher Shankaracharya, a lead in this direction, has given a concept and consciousness how to enter into this state. So with sincere practice, this quality of total awareness, which he referred to as Yoga Nidra. He also mentions about Yoga Nidra and consciousness. That is what we see here. So when you continuously do it, it is part of your life and you are growing to be a yogi. So reference of Yoga Nidra, how it is defined in our tradition. So Yoga Nidra is a meditation sleep, very simple translation. State of half meditation and half sleep. Because the two things are different, but they are combined here. They are coming together. So it admits full exercise of the mental powers finally, when you come up after Yoga Nidra, your eyes become bright, your body, really relaxes, and you feel that, fresh, because it admits the mental power. It allows you to develop that. Yoga Nidra is light sleep. It's a light sleep, and the sleep of Mahavishnu at the end of yoga is known as Yoga Nidra. That is why Yoga Nidra is a concept very close to Mahavishnu, and it is dedicated to Mahavishnu. The Yoga Nidra concept of yoga is dedicated to Mahavishnu. So Vishnu, the pervader, Vishnu is an important Hindu deity, all of you know, and he is one of the Trimurti. But if you go to Vedic triology, you don't find Vishnu there. In Vedic triology, it is Agni, Vayu, and Surya. They are at different levels. They are the deities. That is the Vedic triology. And Vishnu has no place at all there. But Indra has got a greater place. 250 verses are there in the Rig Veda chanting on Indra. So in later period, when we come to Puranic age, there Vishnu becomes the important deity of Trimurti. The triology changes. Brahma, Vishnu, and Maheshwara, they become so Vishnu stands as the Sattvic principle. That is why it is possible for him to do Yoga Nidra, because of his Sattvic principle. So reference of Yoga Nidra in Brihad Samhita. So one of the early texts, Varaha Mihira in 7th century, in 44th chapter, he makes a mention of Yoga Nidra, which is propitiating. It is Vishnu who has done the Yoga Nidra. So when the Lord Narayana opens his eyes, the sun, morning, Professor Jamkedkar was mentioning, it is Narayana. Narayana is the main, the concept. And on that concept, so many things emerged in art, in literature, in every, stream of Indian thoughts we have. So when the Lord Narayana opens his eyes, the sun and the moon with eyelashes of the clouds, he wakes up from his Yoga Nidra or yogic slumber. The purificatory ceremony called Nirajana or lustration should be performed for horses, elephants, and warriors. So it is like a celebration. When he wakes up from Yoga Nidra, it is like a celebration. The world has to rejoice and celebrate. So during this period, Mahavishnu remains in the yogic sleep. So what is that period? Let us see. So Yoga Nidra is dedicated to Mahavishnu. Mahavishnu goes to his Yoga Nidra on the 11th lunar day of the month of Ashada. In Ashada month, 11th day, he goes into Yoga Nidra and he remains in that state for 4 months. Then wakes up in the Ekadashi of Kartika month. 11th, then Yoga Nidra of Vishnu is a contemplative sleep taken at the end of an age of the world known as the deluge. So when the deluge happened, first time, he went into Yoga Nidra. So when he went into Yoga Nidra and wakes up, then it is like a termination of one yuga and the beginning of another yuga. We have the 4 yugas coming, rotating, and then again the same thing will repeat, because every time Yoga Nidra, he enters into Yoga Nidra. So Yoga Nidra, usually that period, 4 months, is called as Chaturmas. In most of the tradition we have seen in India, Chaturmasa is observed. So is the period, and from Ashada Shukla Ekadashi, during the bright half of Ashada Shayana, his posture is known as Shayana, it is his sleep. So Kartika Shukla Dwadashi, he wakes up, and that is the bright Utthana Dwadasi. On that day, he wakes up. So you see how beautifully, astronomically, the calendar is set for the Yoga Nidra of Mahavishnu. So Yoga Nidra concept is creatively visualized. In Indian art, thought, and literature, whatever, because usually I always think that how art is created. Art, any form of art, it can be painting, sculpture, dance, music, or architecture. They're all part of society, social happening. They are socio-cultural elements, but they are the end product of particular age. So one particular practices, before going into the getting into changing perception, that has been recorded in art, that has been created in art. It remains as a record. That is why we have so many things, the traditions we follow, they are all like records, the end product of the society, of that particular contemporary society. We have not created today. It was then created and remained. So in art, sculpture, and painting, reclining form of Mahavishnu. So it is consecrated and propitiated image. It is not just a piece of art. See, there is a philosophy, art for art's sake. I don't think Indian art will suit that philosophy. Art is for people's sake. Art is for devotion. Art has got many, many theories. It is not just for art's sake. So it has been, image is propitiated. So it's a monumental architecture created for the purpose of Yoga Nidra Vishnu. This entire concept eulogized in the form of imagery, resting on Adishesha, where he sleeps on Adishesha, the multiple hooded, mighty serpent, symbolizing Ananta. He is known as Ananta, where there is no end, no beginning. It is Ananta. He is in that form. So Mahavishnu rests where he rests. He rests in Vaikuntha. So that is why his celestial abode Vaikuntha, literally the meaning of Vaikuntha is a place with no anxiety. The meaning of Vaikuntha is a place with no anxiety, and Yoga Nidra signifies the state of cosmic balance. This is the concept of Yoga Nidra, and Vishnu and his reclining position, it symbolizes. So now come to the various, I'm concluding in another 5 minutes. So there are 3 postures in Buddhist iconography. First we come across, because all our concepts, traditions, were basically worshipping of nature, powers, in the form of yaga and yagnas. So we did not have a worshipping place like, temple or anything like that. But Buddhist tradition had all this: congregation, offerings, worshipping, memorials created for the image of Buddha. So there are 3 postures in Buddhist iconography, that is standing Buddha, seated Buddha, and reclining Buddha. So can we call reclining Buddha in Yoga Nidra? No. Reclining Buddha is at the end of his parinirvana. He goes to that state at the end of his life. That is parinirvana. Parinirvana is not Yoga Nidra. It is finishing and going away. So, but when it comes to Indian thought, we have standing Vishnu in Samapada. It is, you can see the iconography of that, because whenever we see any image, we think, what is the iconographic features? What is there in right hand, left hand? What are the attributes? Where he is standing? who are next to him. And if we go to painting, we see what is the color of garments. In sculpture, we don't have colors, only one color of the stone. So these are iconographic features. So usually, we people, historians and archaeologists and art historians, we are trained how to look at a sculpture. That is our training, to identify and the symbols and all that. So the other is a seated Vishnu. So like Buddhist iconography, we have standing Vishnu, seated Vishnu. Seated Vishnu is on Ananta. In Badami cave, you have this rock cut architecture, and you can see that he is sitting in the Lilasana. The position, the posture is known as Lilasana. Then comes the reclining. So like Buddha reclining, we also have Vishnu reclining. So here, reclining Vishnu on Ananta, and this is the Yoga Nidra. He's not just reclining on a serpent, but this is the masterpiece of Vaishnava iconography from Gupta period, that is Devgarh temple. It's one panel, great panel of 4th century. And another panel of Vishnu on Ananta, Yoga Nidra, is from Mahabalipuram. Mahabalipuram caves, the Vaishnava iconography in Pallava period, 7th century, 6th and 7th century, you see this kind of Yoga Nidra Mahavishnu. And there is an architecture developed in 8th century. Before that, we don't hear any architecture in the name of Vaikuntha. So we have the Vaikuntha Perumal temple in Kanchipuram. So they have created a temple to propitiate the Vaikuntha form of Vishnu. That is in the Yoga Nidra. So here you see the 3 tiers or 3 chambers in one temple. In the center, you see the Yoga Nidra position. And in the top end, he is in all the 3 forms, standing, seated, and reclining. So this is the first instance we find the Vaikuntha concept very clearly, given. Then Karnataka is one of the state which has given so much of importance to the concept of Yoga Nidra. He is known as Ranganatha. He is not called as Sheshashayi or Padmanabha. In Karnataka, it is known as Ranganatha. Ranganatha, what is the meaning of it? Ranga, it may be Antaranga. So he is the master of Antaranga. He is the master of physical Ranga. Ranga is the place. So if you take physical place, he is the master of that physical place. If you take your Antaranga, the Manas, he is the Natha, master of that Antaranga. So that was the concept of calling Ranganatha. So he is reclining. So we find on Kaveri river. Why they have chosen Kaveri river? On the bed of Kaveri river, you find the 3 Ranganatha Swami temples. This one is from the Shivana Samudra, very close to Bangalore, reclining Mahavishnu. So he is the Natha of the internal realm. Ranganatha he is. And this is the posture. He is lying down in a temple. It is on the bank of Kaveri. This is Sri Ranganatha Swami temple. Most of you must be aware of or must have seen this place. So this is the Ranganatha Swami temple of Srirangapatana, where you find the Ranganatha is reclining and in that Yoga Nidra position. And this is that great Srirangam temple with multiple gopurams. You can see the site. And also look at the central one, the golden gopura. It is known as Vimana, which is on the shrine where Ranganatha is reclining. On the image of the Vimana, you find Paravasudeva, the standing, Vishnu in the form of Vaikuntha Narayana or Paravasudeva. And this is the Yoga Nidra imagery of Sri Ranganatha, that is Sri Rangam. So this is a great place which is considered as Sri Rangam, as the Vaikuntha of this earth. It is considered. So the huge fascinated the Vaishnava saints, Alvars. They visualized Yoga Nidra form of Sri Ranganatha reclined on the coiled serpent with raised 5 or 7 hoods, floating on the milky ocean. And when a devotee propitiate this form, he would be bestowed with the yogic sadhana. And the meritorious architects conceived the Vaikuntha form of the temple architecture and built on the island formed by the Kaveri river. They are built on the island, small island formed by the Kaveri river. 3 temples served the vision of Sri Ranganatha reclining in Yoga Nidra, symbolizing the deluge, floating on the island encircled by the Kaveri, namely Adyaranga at Ranganatha temple and Srirangapatana, Madhyaranga, it is in Shivanasamudra, and Antyaranga, that is in Srirangam. All the 3, Adya and Madhya and Antya. So people who are, devout Vaishnavas, they would like to visit within a day. They start their journey early morning to Shivanasamudra, then go to Srirangapatana, then go to Srirangam, and return, come to Srirangapatana, then Shivanasamudra, and come to Bangalore. Within a day, they have to cover all the 3. That is the way they look at this concept of Ranganatha Swami. So these are the early temple architecture, followed with the concept of Vaikuntha Perumal temple, Kanchipuram, built during 8th to 10th centuries. The temple of Srirangam has earned the merit as Bhu Vaikuntha, the earthly Vaikuntha, comprehending all the features of the sacred space of Mahavishnu. So his abode accounted in the Vaishnava texts. Architecturally, it is the largest and biggest Hindu temple in the world, considered highly meritorious in piety, spirituality, and artistic grandeur, with ever luminous golden Vimana. It is luminous. If you look at that, you will experience that. So this is the door. What you are seeing is the Vaikuntha Dwara. It is opened only on the Vaikuntha Ekadasi day. This door is opened. Otherwise, it is always closed. So this is Yoga Nidra imagery of Sri Ranganatha Swami Sri Rangam. Another photograph. And the reclining Vishnu, not only in India, we have in Cambodia and in even in Vietnam, many images in Vietnam. So this is reclining Khmer style. You can see how they have beautifully composed the sculptural balance, harmony they have created in this way. And this is the Cambodia when we visited. Dr. Soumya, myself, and we 5 friends visited Cambodia, and we have taken this photograph. It is on the bank of a river. It's in the hill. We have to climb the hill, and then, another photograph. You can see, beautifully the Ranganatha is, the concept in Cambodia. Another one you can see how the river splashing, water is splashing Ranganatha. So that means to say the concept of Ranganatha has to be placed near the river. is very evident in all these cases. So this is from Nepal. When you go to, they call it as sometimes Buddha, but you have all the features of the Sheshashayi, Shankha Chakra and all that. So this is another Vaishnava iconography from Nepal. And you can see more details. And that is so beautifully, it is smeared. And I have also worked on Melukote temple, a huge book on rituals of Melukote. And this form, what you are seeing, is the Vaikuntha Narayana, the form of Vishnu. It is a Utsava Murti, and it is also known as Paravasudeva. He is known as Paravasudeva. Such a beautiful and such a great festival, the ritual. You find this in this kind of decoration. And he will be in the procession, not with a large number of people, with a very chosen set of devotees very close to him going in that procession. He enjoys, this Vaikuntha Narayana enjoys such pleasure of such devotees, not on the street, but on the terrace of the temple. So it is one of the ritual and festival we find only in Melukote, where he is in Paravasudeva form, moving on the terrace with selected devotees. And because it is a summer, and they make us to feel that, yes, even God needs, the things which are usually given in summer, like Panaka, as prasada, and like kosamri. They won't give other things, cooked food, since summer it is. So that kind of, taking care of Vishnu, that kind of devotional concept is associated. And after that, he comes down, he is on the terrace with a selected number of devotees. He comes down and he plays like a child, and he will be running, and people will be going behind him, and suddenly he demands food. They give some kind of food to him. He throws that like a prank of a child. He behaves like that because Ramanujacharya, how Vishnu will play like a child. So he behaves like that, and suddenly he disappears and goes into Yoga Nidra. No one disturbs. That's the end of it. You don't even know when he enters inside. All will come out so quiet. So that is the way, this particular ritual takes place. So like this, Yoga Nidra is such a great concept. And to conclude, it is said that the American astronomer Carl Sagan was fascinated by the Hindu view of cosmos and the calculation of the end of the age. He stated, the Hindu religion is one of the world's great faiths dedicated to the idea that the cosmos itself undergoes an immense number of deaths and rebirths. That is what we mean by deluge. And then coming up another yuga. And it is the only religion in which the time scales correspond, no doubt by accident, to those of modern scientific cosmology. The cycles run from our ordinary day and night to a day and night of Brahma, 8.64 billion years long. It is longer than the age of the earth, the sun, and half the time since Big Bang. So, drawn from this perspective, the concept of Yoga Nidra has earned a meritorious status in traditional Indian literature. Its relevance to the imagery of reclining Mahavishnu characterizes the sacred space known as Vaikuntha, visualized by the Alvars, areas, patrons. Such imagery conceived and gained importance over a period of through the aspirations of the seekers and their intentions. The Sri Ranganatha form of Mahavishnu in reclining posture represents the imagery of Yoganidra, propitiated as the principal deity installed in the Sancto Sanctorum, enshrined in the architecturally conceived sacred space of Vaikuntha, the abode of Anantashai Vishnu, in the state of Yoga Nidra. However, the concept of Yoga Nidra has drawn greater attention and significant place in the present yoga practice and administered as a technique of therapeutic value. Today it is achieving the therapeutic value. I thank S-VYASA University for giving me this opportunity, to all the organizers of this conference. It will go into the pages of history. Whenever we conduct the conference under ICHR banner, it will go into the pages of history. So it's a great, moment that we have created, that yoga can be included as the historical deliberation, and we can conduct many conferences on this yoga, because yoga is part of our culture. So when culture is part of our history, then how we can separate all this? So it is great time we had, and I am very thankful to work. Otherwise, I would have practiced Yoga Nidra. But all my thoughts I was able to put in because the opportunity came to. So I'm personally thank Dr. Soumya Manjunath for making me to think about it. And my senior, Professor Jamkedkarji, and our friend, Dr. Sridhar. I always respect him because he has got multiple hats on his head, multiple hats. And I always, look forward curiously what hats he will take and talk today. That is the way we always enjoy such conferences. It's a great, great learning for me also. And I thank the Vice Chancellor for considering this conference and making me part of it. Thank you one and all.
Thank you, ma'am, for sharing your immense knowledge and experience. It's a privilege to have you, ma'am. Now, I request our Honorable Vice Chancellor to share few words regarding the presentation.
Friends, for the last 40 minutes, it has been a wonderful experience for all of us about a subject, Yoga Nidra. Today, Yoga Nidra has not only become something like a historical or a topic connected with yoga, it has become relevant with therapeutics now. See, today, insomnia, sleep disorders, all these non-communicable problems are increasing. And the solution today is hailing from Yoga Nidra. Here there are two. Yoga is a samatva stage or a still state of thoughts. And Nidra, that is what required. But many times our sleep is with dreams, with unwanted, what is known as viparyaya, vikara, and other things. But if you rest with Yoga Nidra, probably 2 hours is more than sufficient. And scientifically it has been established by Bihar School of Yoga. Swami Satyananda Saraswati and later his disciple Niranjanananda, They have published many papers and it is being in practice too. 1 hour of yoga nidra is equivalent to 5 hours of deep sleep. So to that extent, yoga nidra is popular. And in fact, today Dr. Chudamani has made us to understand every aspect with the pictorial presentation and how Lord Vishnu relaxes, how Lord Vishnu goes into the state of yoga sthiti and then sleeps. See, sleeping can happen by intoxication too, by taking sleeping pill too. But Nidra in yoga sthiti is something most warranted, most needed, most required. And I am so glad that today Dr. Chudamani, out of his scholarliness, has made a wonderful presentation. On behalf of Swami Vivekananda Yoga Anusandhana Samsthan, I express my abhinandan. Thank you, Madam. Namaskar.
Thank you, sir. We feel honored to have with us the esteemed scholars like Professor Arvind Jamketkar and Dr. Chudamani Nandagopal. I request our Vice Chancellor, Registrar and Dean of Yoga and Humanities to please honor Dr. Chudamani Nandagopal.
Take it, take it. Nobody also come.
Thank you, dignitaries. Unfortunately, Dr. Harish GB, former director at S-VYASA, Swami Vivekananda Cultural Center, Vietnam, had to take off early due to some official work, but he had left a video message. So I request our technical team to please present the video.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you, boys. Thank you. Voice, voice. Voice. Not able to.
Namaste. I congratulate S-VYASA and Ichr for organizing such a wonderful seminar. And due to the other events which I have already committed, I am not able to present my paper, though I am present in for the morning session. My topic about this yoga seminar for today is Hindu Yoga and Art, Rigveda Perspective. Now, with the permission of the chair, I will start the paper. Each culture has its own way of dealing with knowledge production and its use. So in Hindu tradition, here I have taken Hindu tradition as all the indigenous traditions of this country, our country, Bharat, namely the Vedic, the Jain, the Buddhist, and the folk, and the Sikh tradition, Virashaiva tradition as Hindu. Hindu knowledge tradition and means to attain it are discussed, recorded elaborately. Indian philosophy, Darshana, begins with Rigveda and Upanishads. It took an argumentative shape during the Jain and Buddhist stages. This is because in the the Vedas, there were no other schools of philosophy to counter it. Philosophy is today used in two senses in yoga and allied subjects. One, philosophy is the quest to know, love for knowledge. Other one, it is going beyond mind and practicing the universal principles in one's life. Former is known as philosophy and later darshana. Yoga is considered by the scholars as both of these. This you can find in the writings of S.N. Dasgupta and others. According to modern view, yoga is dominant in Sankhya Yoga schools of Indian philosophy, and they are a part of 6 schools of Darshana. But a brief survey given below clearly shows that yoga literature and its reference to yoga is much older. So this paper focuses mainly on the Vedas and the Upanishads, especially the Rig Veda and its connection related to yoga and art. Yoga is said to be derived from Hiranyagarbha, and Patanjali gave Yoga Sutra, which was expounded by one Vyasa in S-VYASA. Yet Shankaracharya's commentary on Brahma Sutra refers to another yoga before this. Atha Tattva Darshanopayo Yogaha. Brahma Sutra Bhashya, chapter number 2, second verse. Vedic, Jain and Buddhist scholars and schools practice yoga in their own method. The upasanas of the Upanishads take the seekers to Atmavidya. The cessation of mind techniques of Mahayana Buddhist school and a combination of Mahayana with Vajrayana Tantra takes the yogic practitioner into the realm of different Vidyas and Devatas. This is experience, and this experience is expressed through the mandalas. Mandalas are different mental maps which are seen during the process of purification of manas. As the manas travels between several layers within, the color combination appears to that sadhak. The one who has given the diksha, the guru, will, in the eventual course of time, make the course corrections in this travel of his or the shishya. It is both secret and sacred art, and yoga in Lama tradition and in Sri Vidya tradition has artistic aspect also. Indian art cannot be understood without a traditional background of the organic relationship between yoga and art, that is yoga and kala. What is without appears from within and bound to merge into the same. What is here is there and vice versa. If you look into the most of the English books written by our own scholars and the European scholars, one will be disappointed because they have studied the yogic or the spiritual literature of Bharat only from an external point of view without understanding the upasana part and the processes which takes place within. Tantra Yoga Agama literature is one of the most misunderstood category of knowledge practice in recent centuries. European travelers, officers have documented many rituals across Bharat, that is India, without the sufficient background knowledge of the process which brings these rituals into action. Ichr, Jnana and Kriya are not separate entities. They are not opposed to one another. In the words of great art critic Ananda Kumaraswamy, they are each is both. Human mind is man-made and it is one of the portfolios of Atman expressed outward. Different worlds and stages of animal and plant life are found within the different compartments of the mind. Bharatiya Shastras mentions and uphold categories within the mind such as Manas, Buddhi, Chitta and Hankara. As the king has army and ministers, cabinet, to look into the administration, so the mind mentioned in the traditional lore has taken a deep dive into the ocean of categories of the mind. Hence, Shaiva, Vaishnava schools devote sufficient time in their practice for cleansing the mind, known as Chitta Shuddhi. The attitude of the ancients to mind is joyous, as they have found experienced the towns, villages, vegetation, habitat behind this mind. Therefore, they have no fear about the mind compared to the moderns. Rigveda has no fear about mind and the challenges and deceptions that it creates every day. Vedas contain many spiritual war references. As Sri Aurobindo explained in one such case, that of Brihaspati, quote, for Brihaspati is also an Angirasa and one who becomes the Angiras. He is, as we have closely seen, closely associated with the Angirasa rishis in winning the luminous cattle, and he is so associated as Brahmaspati, as the master of the sacred or inspired word Brahma. For by his cry, Vala is split to pieces, and the cows answering, lowing with desire to his call. The secret of the Vedas, chapter 16, the Angiras rishis. Unquote. Yoga is the process of releasing the cow, which is a symbol of knowledge, from the prison of darkness. The symbol of Sarama, godly dog, is talking about the same. How skillfully, artfully, Kavikratu, ancient rishis, fought the battles to release the blocked waters from the Daityas and Danavas is the story script of Rigveda. Doubt, deception, inertia are forms of darkness, and they are thick. They need to be purified and transformed into intraordinary. This essential battle is the Puranic battle between Devagana and Danavagana. This is within and it takes place in everyone. Yoga gives weapons to fight this internal battle, of which, to use the words of Chandogya Upanishads, 5 koshas are the battlefield. Rishis are the samurais, are the warriors, yodhas, who fight this battle, taking the side of the divine light. Whoever inherit this microcosmic and macrocosmic battle belong to the family of the rishis, that is Rishikulas and Gotras. Yoga and Kshema are the twin words which appear in many places of Vedic literature. Indro, Diva, Indra, Ishaha, Prithivya, etc. In that 10th mandala, Indro, Ruddhim Indra, Inmedhiranam Indraha, Ksheme, Yoge, Havya Indra. To attain yoga and Kshema, one should pray to Indra. Here yoga means attaining what is non-attainable, and Kshema means protecting whatever is achieved. So achievement is important, and protecting that achievement for the welfare of the nation, welfare of the humanity is equally important. In this way, the yogis and rishis attain the non-attainable, and the Rashtra and society protects whatever achieved. In this way, Bharat land is Yogakshema Rashtra also. The moral guidelines for creation of wealth and protection is clearly mentioned in the Rigveda. In this way, Vedic traditional view of yoga begins with Vedas, and it is applied in the 3 words Bhuhu, Bhuvaha and Swaha. In terms of Hindu poetics and dramaturgy, rasa is the ultimate experience, and according to Acharya Abhinavagupta, it is Alaukika or divine experience. Quote, for Abhinavagupta, soaked in sublime principles of Shaiva Siddhanta, the aesthetic experience is Ananda, the unique bliss. He regards such aesthetic experience as different from an ordinary experience and as a subjective realization. It is Alaukika, out of the ordinary world, he said, and is akin to mystic experience. That experience occurs in a flash as of lightning. It is a chamatkara, the state of blissful aesthetic experience. It is free from earthly limitations and is self-luminous, swaprakasha. It is ananda, a direct experience, a state of pure and undefiled joy. This rasa ananda, he says, is almost to be equivalent to the philosophic bliss, brahmananda. Therefore, the ancient saying goes like this, Kavyananda, Brahmananda Sahodana. The irritation of modern mind is that it takes knowledge different from practical and common man as the center. This common man, defined and elaborated in modern sociology, is the uncommon man. That means that man cannot be found everywhere. The man who is common in all human beings and all the living beings is the common man, Purusha, C with capital and M with capital letter. Yoga thus is a battle to release the light hidden in the dark caves and also the process to understand the Purusha of the Upanishads and Vedas. It teaches to make a detailed tour into different rooms and corners of the mind body to know, but not to use always. To begin to connect yoga with poetry, drama, and painting and art is a mental journey to move the words, gestures, and color into different layers of Purusha expressed in form. As the artist tries to get a hold on the layers of expression, that is Annamaya, Pranamaya, etc., becomes deeper and simpler. Lesser the clutters, more the light. Art form takes Kavya Anusandhana, meditation on enlightened lines, and Ruddha Seva, serving the ancient teachers. This is the word of the ancient Kannada grammarian Nagavarma. The words which had conflicting meaning and shades of meaning in the beginning will start to uncover themselves to the poet. As poet, artist understands the realms of the words, colors, gestures, they release the artist from one layer to the another layer. The dividend of joy increases, similar to the mantras found in Chandogya Upanishads on the ascent from Annamaya to Anandamaya Kosha and beyond. Less luggage, more comfort. Whatever may be the outer appearances, I am concluding my paper, whatever may be the outer appearances, all artists are moving towards Purusha, mentioned in the Vedas, in their own comfort and speed. Skillful act will turn into joyful act. That means Kaushala will turn into Kala or Yoga and Ananda. Bharatiya Darshana and art theory, Kala Siddhanta, agrees that Ananda is the ultimate goal. One scholar says, Vakyam Rasatmakam Kavyam. The sentence with ecstasy is Kavya. Yoga is detachment in art and art is attachment in yoga. In Mysore Hiryana's words, a great philosopher of 20th century, art is layman's yoga. One must read his great work, The Art Experience, to understand better. The peak experience spoken by the aestheticians is the internal ascent of an artist from Anna to Ananda Kosha. Once that state is reached, then silence takes charge of words, music, and colors. Layman understands, thus the common man. I thank the organizers for giving me this great opportunity to deliver my thoughts on the relationship between yoga and art from the Rigvedic perspective. Namaste.
Thank you, sir. Now I request our registrar to brief about tomorrow's sessions.
He will speak. Yeah. We request Arvind Jamkedkar ji to make a chairperson's remarks. Arvind sir.
Dear friends, in the morning session it was for Ayurveda, how the practice and understanding of Ayurveda would lead to swasthya. In the afternoon we have a different journey, and That is how from the gross you go to the subtle, how from Anna you go to the Anandamaya Kosha. Both the lectures which were delivered were novel exercises in trying to understand our aesthetic traditions. The word Yoga Nidra, as explained by Dr. Chudamani Nandagopal, started from a very practical thing which was done, practiced for the sake of practical, you can say, relaxation. But then that Yoga Nidra has got a philosophical, a great symbolic meaning was explained through the wonderful images which showed us right from the simple Sheshashayana, as it is called many times Sheshashai, but really the Narayana. Narayana is supposed to be another name of Aniruddha, who is connected with creation and all manifestations. Hayagriva is his manifestation, and all the 10 avatars are, or innumerable avatars are the manifestation of Vishnu. And how he governs the whole world, even while reclining on the Shesha, was very powerfully and satisfactorily conveyed by Dr. Chudamani Anandagopal. The other presentation was connected with the antiquity of yoga itself. In my observations, I had said that, well, apparently yoga appears only in the time of the Upanishads, but it is definitely inherent there in our tradition, both of thought and philosophy. And that novel attempt was done by Dr. Suresh in his own way, and he has brought our attention to the terminologies which are very common by the time of Bhagavad Gita, like Yoga Kshema, their antiquity going back to the Rigvedic times. It was really a pleasure to sit through both these presentations, and I take myself to be one of the most fortunate persons to now have a sight of a different aspect of, you can say, our own culture. And as I observed earlier in the morning, that yoga is not simply the backbone of our culture, it is virtually the soul of Indian culture itself. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Arvind Jambedkarji, for your insightful remarks on the two papers in the afternoon. Of course, before I inform about tomorrow's program, already Dr. Ganga KV, my colleague, has told, we'll have a break for 30 minutes. We come back, there will be a dance program, Bharatanatyam dance by our students of S-VYASA, and also bhajan program, and we end that for the day. Tomorrow, exactly at 10 o'clock, we are going to have the next academic session, Integration of Yoga in Community Health, Ancient, by Dr. Nagaratna, or the younger sister of Dr. H.R. Nagendra, and she is the director of Arogyadhama, S-VYASA, she will be speaking. Followed by Dr. Arun Bharadwaj, founder and chief mentor, Happiness Technology, will be speaking on Corporate Happiness Index, CHI, and HRM Policy Governance Paradigm for Corporate, inspired by GNH. So he will be speaking on that. Then we have one more session, being in the seat of self-abidance, the process and system of healing in the Yoga Sutra of Patanjali, by Dr. Sangeeta Menon. She is the Dean, School of Humanities, professor and head, National Institute of Advanced Studies, Bangalore. She did a wonderful work on interviewing Sukhabodhanandaji and brought out excellent publication with 10 videos. And an outstanding scholar and working on consciousness for almost 25 years. Then in the afternoon, we have Dr. Rajini Jairam, professor in Sanskrit and Dean, Student Welfare from Jain Dean to University. She will be speaking on Advaita Siddhanta and Yoga and inseparable relation. Then I will be speaking on the concept of yoga as embedded in the Vedas. Then yoga in Jainism by a discussion on the Ratnatraya by Dr. Aruna K.R., author and researcher. Then Dakshinamurti, the master of yoga with special reference to Shuka Maharshi. We have the Dakshinamurti temple here, you know. We just completed 1 year of the consecration of the temple. Dr. Soumya Manjunath Chavan, she is our Dean, Division of Yoga and Humanities, and coordinator for this program, will be presenting. After that, we will have the valedictory session in which our Arvind Jhamkedkarji, Vice Chancellor and Chancellor, all will be present. So I invite each one of you, the students who are here, who have enrolled, to be present tomorrow also exactly at that time, so that you will have wonderful intellectual treat tomorrow. So with this, I offer grateful thanks to all the members, especially to our young students and the young minds who have been sitting here since 10:30 in the morning till 5 o'clock. I know how difficult it is to sit only here, and still you have exercised great patience, endurance. Thank you very much. And tomorrow we are going to come back and you will be getting your certificates tomorrow. You can also, we'll give you e-certificates which will be helpful to you in the future when you apply for jobs, because it is a Government of India program. And I also thank Dr. Ganga KV, my colleague, for excellently comparing this second session. And we break for some time and we assemble here exactly at 6 o'clock for the cultural program. Thank you very much. Namaskar. Dhanyavad.